to our K Matters session this Tuesday lunchtime. I'm delighted to welcome David Mealy from First Ignite. David's head of partnerships at First Ignite, and the company is one of our fantastic conference sponsors. So you will get a chance to meet David when we convene in Birmingham in a couple of weeks' time. First Ignite are sponsoring our welcome reception, and they're our digital sponsor as well. So plenty of opportunities to find out more about their product and how they can help you in your job in knowledge exchange. So today, David is going to give us some more background to First Ignite and what the platform does. It's an AI-based software platform that we're hoping will make you realize how you can find more opportunities, find those pipelines for partnerships, make your lives easier when you're trying to get those great ideas out of universities and into the marketplace. I think this is something we all agree is really important to the success of knowledge exchange and can often be one of the really challenging bottlenecks to progress. So we're hoping that David is going to show us how we can save time, money, enrich those connections and enrich the scope of activities with the use of AI. So I'll hand over to you, David, and then we'll have 20 minutes or so from you, and then we'll take questions and have some more chat.
That's wonderful. Tamsin, thanks you so much for the introduction. I greatly appreciate it. And everyone, thank you all so much for coming on today. My name is David Mealy, head of partnerships here at First Ignite. And yes, today's conversation is all about artificial intelligence in relation to commercializing our different initiatives within our universities or research activities. And very specifically, where artificial intelligence is able to support us is within growth of areas that have taken a long time in the past. All of these activities of identifying companies and contacts, the right people to speak with, who to communicate with, to build valuable discussions with these different groups, shrinking these processes down to as little time and effort so that we can concentrate on growing and proliferating our different commercialized technology opportunities. And that's very specifically where First Ignite is able to come in. We provide an artificial intelligence software that today we're going to see takes text in relation to our initiative. So this could be from a website, from a PDF document, from a abstract about one of your technologies. You're able to place that information within our software to then find organizations who, for their own reasons, are interested in our university activities themselves. And again, the value proposition of First Ignite is taking all of that disparate outbound communicative activity necessary to build these relationships. For example, what's the right company to be speaking with? Who at that company should I be talking to? What should I want to be speaking with that person about? And shrinking that time down to as little effort as possible so that we can concentrate on really two things: building these proactive outbound relationships and also new revenue streams coming into our universities. And so let me go ahead now and share my screen, and let's walk through an actual example about how artificial intelligence is the growth in our sector. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. And this is just going to be a hypothetical, but the example that we're looking at today, First Ignite, is easy to use and easy to master for any initiative that you're seeking, because we're going to be talking about technology transfer today. But within your universities and research organizations, if you have an initiative that requires philanthropic support or maybe career services to get students hired, maybe it's a specific college has a fundraising initiative, all of these kinds of activities can be done through our First Ignite software. And let's go ahead now and let's go ahead and copy the text in relation to this technology. And we're going to start to identify those organizations who are speaking the same language. Now, the text that we're using here, again, it doesn't have to be exactly what we're looking at here on the page. This could be from a website that is important to you in relation to your particular technology. Maybe there's a video overview that you found that has a brief write-up about that particular initiative. It just needs to be text matching to those organizations that you'd like to speak with. So let's go ahead now and copy this information and move it to our First Ignite software. So this is our software tool that's used by our partners all over the globe. And we're going to start today on the left side of the screen with our autopilot tool. Let's go ahead and paste our text within this tool and then click on the launch button. Now, before I do that, one very important note is that we can segment by particular location. So let's just pretend we're only looking for European organizations. We can look for organizations by a specific size. This is a combination of their total revenue, total number of employees, and even the industry. If we want to get very specific when we're searching for these particular organizations, what industry are we wanting to connect and collaborate with? So continuing to add specificity with each of our First Ignite searches so that when we're reaching out to these groups, we can get very specific to build valuable conversations with them. But let's keep it a little bit more broad right now. Let's just do Europe for the location. And now let's click on launch. And what the First Ignite software is going to do is it's going to begin to ping millions and millions of what we call data nodes. These are going to be things like the company's patent activity, business investitures, hiring information, finances, reasons why these resulting companies and contacts for their own internal activity are invested in your university initiative themselves. And again, the process of doing this, and we're going to see the results here in just a sec, is that it's taking all of that disparate outbound communicative activity, taking it off your plate so that you can concentrate on building these proactive outbound relationships. Now, this process here, it takes about 15 to 30 seconds. So just to speed this process along, I've already ran this example today, and let's take a look at the final results together. So the first thing that we're going to see are all of the companies who, for their own reasons, are matching to this initiative. Now, how would we know that any of these companies have interest in this particular topic? Well, when we click on one of these organizations, the First Ignite software is going to do for us a few things. First, it's going to build for us a little vignette about this company, who they are, their revenue, their website, but more importantly, news articles matching to the text that we put into the system, competitive analysis of other organizations within this space to reach out to and speak with. If we think about the law of transitive property, if A equals B equals C, if this is an organization that we'd like to speak with, it's likely that their competitors could be as well. The verified contact information for the people at this company based on their alumni status, location, job title. We can get very specific to find that particular person that we want to communicate with. We're going to go into this tool in a little bit more detail here shortly. And then lastly, and most importantly, is our overview section. What this is the First Ignite software taking that text and saying, what's happening internally at this organization that makes them a positive fit for collaboration? Why is this a company that I want to be speaking out to speak out to about my commercialization opportunity, my licensing opportunity, whatever my specific initiative is internally at my university? We also provide information about the products, any applicable patents that these companies hold, so that we can get very specific when communicating with these companies. So for example, we could say, hi company, I know that you're providing your pellet coating technology. Here at my university, we have a new technology that is very applicable to this product line. Why don't we spend 15 minutes? I'd love to speak with you about a potential commercialization opportunity. Building that specificity of value on why should this organization be partnering with your university? What do they get out of it? What is the value from our partnership if you're sharing this technology with them? Now, once we found those companies that we want to speak with, what about the actual people to communicate with? Because we could go back through our people section and look at all 790 people, 170 people, 85 people. That's going to take a little bit too much time. And so it's much more efficient to go right to those key decision makers. That's our top people tab. This is taking a look at all of those companies that we just saw earlier to say, who within these organizations have the ability to move these conversations forward and get us a signature on the dotted line. These are going to be our chiefs, our vice presidents, our directors. We provide their LinkedIn information, but more importantly, we verify their emails before we provide them to you, because we don't want to just give you an email and say, good luck getting into their inbox. Very important note here. How exactly is this verification process occurring? Well, the First Ignite AI, it's taking a look at all of the Delpharm email formats, and then it's pinging those against a variety of different email databases. These are going to be tools that you might have heard of, like LinkedIn Sales Navigator, Zoom Info, Rocket Reach, Apollo, to make sure that Sebastian.Jacquet@delpharm.com is showing up across all of those platforms, building that validity that this is going to get into that person's inbox. Now, once we found that individual that we want to speak with, what do we actually say to them to get their attention so that they want to speak with our university? Well, let's pretend that Sebastian is who we want to talk to. Let's click on Sebastian. And our software is now going to build for us two things. On the left side of the screen, we're going to be provided with a spotlight tool, which is taking a look at Sebastian's background from their LinkedIn. Maybe they've got a profile written about themselves on the company website to say, what is it about Sebastian that's matching to my initiative? Why is this a person that I'd want to speak with about collaboration in the first place? Then over here on the right side of the screen, our software, it's taken our text, what is it we're trying to achieve, and then built for us editable email marketing content so that your teams, your staffs, you don't have to constantly write this information again and again. You can rely on the First Ignite software to build this information for you. Now, a very important note here, you are never alone when using First Ignite. You are provided with a First Ignite partner relationship manager. This is a person who works with you over the course of our relationship to make sure that you're finding return on investment from your use of the software. For example, you can ask this person things like, hey, First Ignite, what type of text should I put into the system to find the best matches? Hey, First Ignite, what information should I share with this person to get their attention? This person's going to be working with your team to make sure that you're finding those successes. So it's not just this artificial intelligence tool, there's a human component provided to you for your success as well. So we found those companies and contacts that we want to speak with, but now what about marketing materials that we can share them to help educate them about a specific initiative? Well, our next tool here is called summaries. And what this does is this takes our text and then builds for us a one-page non-confidential summary talking about the key advantages, the marketplace applicability. What is it about this initiative that's so beneficial to industry and why would they want to participate? Educating them about this particular topic. Now, in this particular example here, technically I cheated because we've already got a write-up built. But what if internally all that you were provided with was a brief abstract, maybe just one or two sentences in relation to what this actually activity is? Well, I want to take us back to First Ignite now, and I want to go to a singular tool called summarizations, which is a portion of what we've looked at so far called autopilot. And then we just go ahead and paste this text into the tool and then click on Get Summary. And we're going to build this summary documentation in real time. So this is a way for any text, any initiative that you have internally, you can very quickly create new marketing material so that you can begin to proliferate this very valuable internal initiative. So going back to Autopilot now, we found our companies, our contacts, we built marketing materials. Now, the last tool that Autopilot provides is industry insights. Because let's say as we're commercializing these different technologies that we've been very laser focused on a specific industry, and we want to start to consider other areas in which our initiatives align. Well, our market reports tool takes your text and matches your initiatives to different industries like pediatric medicine, geriatric care pharmaceuticals, emerging biotech. We provide the reason for this match and then break this industry down in greater detail. What are some of the challenges and opportunities that an organization would face within this marketplace? Segmenting this market into greater detail, providing additional companies for us to reach out to and speak with. So this is a really wonderful brainstorming tool if we're wanting to think about other areas in which our research initiatives align. Now, in conclusion, in relation to our autopilot tool, it's doing for us four things at once: finding companies and contacts interested in our initiatives, providing for us marketing materials, and also providing industry insights. And we want to think about a past view of what these experiences would have been like before. Googling, LinkedIn, taking a look at how your research is matching to different activities from just searching online and finding all of this information. Artificial intelligence is meant to support growth initiatives. That is very specifically what First Ignite is here to do, to make us more efficient within our initiatives, to build, proliferate, and grow our commercialization profile. Now, I also stated at the beginning here, First Ignite, easy to use and easy to master. While we looked at an example today using this text, you can use any initiative within our autopilot tool to find new partners in just a few seconds. So moving on now, we took a look internally or externally to see organizations interested in our activity. But what about taking a look internally to say what's happening within our university today that's very valuable, it's active, it's hot, that we can push out to industry? And then also when we have organizations coming to speak with us, where else can we direct them on campus to strengthen and build those partnerships. This tool is called our Mission Control Dashboard. And for example, we're able to input a particular university in a specific set of time. So let's just say the University of Sussex over the last 6 months. And when we scroll down here on the screen, what we're going to now see is all of the different research that over that time period is being published on campus by different experts, lecturers, research within those last 6 months. So we can see here particle physics is a very important area for this campus. Let's go ahead and click there. And our software is going to build for us a few things. First, it's going to create an overview about what this research is, why is this valuable to industry, why would companies want to learn more about this topic. But then also, more importantly, our market reports. This is how are we matching this activity over to industry. We saw this over in Autopilot. And then lastly, and most importantly, are those works and the actual authors themselves. So again, hypothetical scenario, company comes on campus to learn about topic XYZ. We can then say to that company, if you're interested in this initiative, have you spoken with this faculty member, this research unit, this college, strengthening those partnerships throughout your university as a whole. Now, additional information and activities that First Ignite can be able to support internally at your university. Grant giving opportunities. We're able to see top grants for a specific institution over a certain amount of time. So we can always segment out. This could be the last 3 years, last 1 year to see that particular information. But also, just as importantly, what grants are available in the world today that are specific to my researchers on campus. So for example, I put in the University of Sussex, and then let's go ahead and click here. And if we remember right, particle physics was a very important activity. So let's go ahead and click on physics within our filters option. And we're then going to be provided from a worldwide standpoint with grant opportunities that are available within the physics field. So we can see additional information about these topics, the countries of origin, where this information is coming from, and then more importantly, when we click on one of these different areas and then click on match faculty members, the First Ignite software is going to be taking a look at the research that these professors are working on, at this grant opportunity and the specific information in relation to it, and saying, Dr. Nickel, Dr. Jackowitz, Dr. Aliv, your research matches to this activity. And when we click on one of these individuals, we're able to see more information about their background, the things that they're working on, and then we can reach out to them directly to say, Dr. Nickel, did you know that there is a current grant opportunity that's available to you for your potential application? Strengthening and building those partnerships internally within your university with your faculty. Now, the final tool that we want to share with you, because we've looked at two so far. We looked at Autopilot, which enables us to think about externally what organizations want to partner with us for growth. And then internally with Mission Control, what activities are happening on campus that can be catalysts for growth. But now, what about thinking about just our initiatives in general, and how valuable will these be for growth? How much is the market going to say that they want this initiative today? Well, that is going to be our tech assessment tool, enabling us to take our text and then be provided with a what we like to call a market readiness report. What is going to be required for this technology to be valuable to industry? So just like before, we take our text, we place it within the software, and then click on Generate Report. And what we're provided this time is a report that looks similar to this, where we're taking our text and making a subjective assessment, because at every university, they're going to care about these metrics a little bit differently. But we're going to provide a subjective assessment to say, what is the market potential for this activity to be successful? What are competitive products on the market? How much revenue could we expect in relation to this product? Patentability. What other patents are in the market today that would make it difficult for this technology to proliferate? Resources required by external organizations to implement this technology. And then lastly, what is the technical feasibility of actually bringing this technology to market? When we see any of these different resources here, we can always click on Show Details to go into greater detail about how the summary is being made. But then just as importantly, where is this data coming from? How is First Ignite making this summary so that we can always go back through and take a look at these sources? Again, the value of this tool, we're working with a faculty member. We've got a very abstract idea, and we want to see, is this something that our university wants to continue to support, to fund, to research, to proliferate? We can utilize our tech assessment tool to begin to make those early stage decisions on the success of our particular initiative. And so, in conclusion, when we're thinking about artificial intelligence and growth, First Ignite enables our teams to take any initiative that we have internally and increase correspondence, relationships, and then most importantly, revenue for those particular activities, placing our initiatives in a successful position to connect and collaborate with outside organizations in just a few seconds. And that's the power of artificial intelligence. That's the power of First Ignite. And I'm happy to answer any other questions that you might have today.
Fantastic. Thank you, David. That was really interesting and just giving us a little bit of insight into the power of this tool and what AI can do for us, which I think is something that we're all excited about and slightly daunted about in equal measure, I suspect, at the moment. But I really like the, obviously the speed at which this software can find opportunities. That's something we talk about a lot, is identifying external opportunities and helping to do that market due diligence, I suppose, just getting a step ahead, but also that insight into what your potential might be at an organizational level, which is something that is equally as important. And I think the ability to spot opportunities that neither you nor the academic community would necessarily have anticipated through the use of AI, because often in knowledge exchange, as you know, it's the less than obvious connections that can really be powerful in this context. So that was really interesting to see.
I call them the diamonds in the rough. The diamonds in the rough.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and there's a lot of rough sometimes. That's brilliant. That's really interesting to see. So we have got a few questions in the chat. You should be able to see those. I mean, we can start at the top. So this connection, you mentioned the LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So just a question about the use of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So great question, Brenda. Very specifically for our First Ignite software, it's only pinging those different tools. You do not have to have a separate subscription to those to be able to access First Ignite and get that verified email address. We're going to do that completely for you through the use of our First Ignite software.
Okay, that's good to know. And then a question about the data. Where does First Ignite store any data you put into the system? As I understand it, you're only using data that is in the public domain already. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct. Yes. Thank you so much for the question. And this is a great segue into the difference between a public large language model and a private instance of a large language model, which is what First Ignite is. So public large language model, most famous version, ChatGPT. Everything going into that tool is training everyone else's content. With First Ignite, the only reason why our software is getting smarter is based on what the First Ignite engineers are telling the software to do. And so what that means exactly is that when your university puts information in, it's never going to be training anyone else's content. It's stored specifically for you, is that university. So very, very important point to keep in mind. Your information does not train anyone else's.
Okay, and I think that relates to Britta's second question there about how the software is trained and what it's based on. So I think everyone can see that question rather than me trying to read it out because it's quite a lengthy one.
Servers good. No, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, that is correct. That is correct. Is that could you, in theory, upload confidential data? You can upload confidential data. It's never going to be shared with anyone. Very important as well is that if you ever don't want your data stored, you can always just reach out to again, this is your First Ignite partner relationship manager, and they'll just go ahead and delete that for you. It's only stored on your system for your particular use at a future time. You want to go back through your history, your past searches to be able to see that activity as well.
Yeah, and that's useful, isn't it? Because you can test something. In theory, if we did this approach with this kind of information from a particular discipline or a particular individual, what kind of market do we think First Ignite would show us? And then you may decide not to go ahead and therefore not want to have that history in there for some reason. So it enables you to play. I mean, I guess that's the power of it. You're trying to get people to find the unknowns. They play around, see what the potential is out there, and then have some new leads to follow. So you want that ability to play around in confidence. Question from Vicky, what's the minimum size organization where this would really add value for money? This is an interesting one, isn't it? Because I can see how this could be considered like a member of your team who's doing lots of hard work, possibly representing several members of a team, doing a lot of that market research and due diligence and finding links. But then I guess it's the type of system that may not be entirely affordable for a very small team. So what kind of size of user are you seeing?
Absolutely. So we work with large within the United States, large what we call R1 institutions. And in Europe, we work with very small research parks and collaborative units and entities. So every single research organization that is requiring outside collaboration for their initiatives, they can find value from First Ignite. And if there is a smaller size team, we can certainly work together some kind of package that would enable one team member, the entirety of your office, to have access to the First Ignite software. It's really just dependent on a one-to-one conversation where we can learn a little bit more about your office and some of those specific takeaways that you're hoping to see from artificial intelligence in First Ignite.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've got a lot of initiatives in the UK at the moment about sharing resources, sharing approaches, whether that's through a disciplinary approach or a kind of industry sector-based approach for tech transfers. And I can see how this would be applicable to a kind of group like that who are exploring a particular lens of opportunity, if you like. I haven't got any more questions at the moment, but I suppose, when people are thinking about using platforms like this, I suppose the nervousness is around data protection and the confidentiality of the information. Is there anything more you can say on that? It feels like that's kind of the questions that people are worrying about most, is that confidentiality.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, just a little bit of additional insight in relation to the First Ignite LLM and software is that we have a few different LLMs linking together to create the First Ignite software, but it's wrapped around with First Ignite secret sauce, which basically keeps all of that content together in a private instance of a particular user's information. Now, we do have a very robust data security and compliance portion of our website that we can share with any users who would like to learn a little bit more about how First Ignite works exactly. And if any of your particular offices have questions about one-to-one IT activities that are specific to your school, to your research unit, we're more than happy to connect with you for those one-to-one conversations as well.
Fantastic. I think it's just having that assurance, isn't it? That's brilliant.
Absolutely. Of course, of course.
So another small question. For the tech assessment feature, do you have any data on, or have you done any comparisons of results generated by software versus that generated manually? I guess that's the $1 million question, really, isn't it? Could a person do this faster, more smartly than the machine? I doubt it, but have you done that comparison?
So I have not personally done that comparison in real time of taking a tech assessment and comparing to what I'm looking for, but just to share what those literal actions would be is that the tech assessment first, it's going to be scanning the entirety of the internet to say, what about your text is showing that this is valuable, that this has made money before, and that there are what other alternative products are there today. So that's 2 Google searches that we have to do in an expansive manner to understand that particular metric. Then we have to do a prior art search to say what other patents are available that are matching to this initiative, and how applicable are they really, what overlap would there be to our initiative today. And then we have to build additional hypotheticals to say what are the resources required, what is the technical feasibility of actually implementing this technology. So we have to get a little bit internal to think about those activities as our First Ignite software is scanning different search engines as well to find that information. So if we were to think about all of those different topics, that could be an afternoon's worth of work. And First Ignite is able to accomplish that task in about 30 seconds. So that, while I haven't literally done that process, that would be the kind of time and savings that First Ignite can provide.
Yeah, and I think the point about quality is that that's where you have to be an informed and intelligent user of the software. I mean, I think that goes for any kind of these large language models type software. So you get these results, but you go and test them in conversation with your academic community and say, does this look reasonable? And you test them maybe with some customers you've already got, or with some other a sounding board, so that you're taking these opportunities in an informed way that gives you confidence in the results you're getting from the software as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. As ourselves as technology transfer professionals, we know that technology best, as
Yeah.
well as the researchers that we're communicating with. And so it is always important to take this internally to say, hey, is this really, the case that this information is? And and it will be, because our First Ignite software, it's only looking at the text that we put into the system. And so if that text is valuable to you as the researcher, we're going to be able to get an analysis of what this text is and how is it related to industry. Why is it valuable to industry? It's always looking for that input to then provide you an applicable output.
Yeah. Do you have industry clients as well, David, or is this firmly aimed at universities? I mean, do you have people kind of
Great.
looking the other way as well?
Great question. Great question. So, First Ignite, we provide four main partner types: universities, research hospitals, national laboratories, and then also private companies, with private companies being a smaller unit of our partnerships. The majority of our partners are universities using our software to find external partners, but then we do have some private companies that use our software for market research, for hiring purposes. You want to find different team members to join our teams. So you can use the First Ignite software really for any applicable external communication activity, but we're most focused within the university sector.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. I mean, one of the barriers that we hear from the industry side in the UK, and I think it's applicable in Europe and US as well, is the time it takes to find an opportunity in the university sector. There's no easy front door. Companies typically are having much smaller R&D teams internally, and so I can see that this kind of approach might be useful there as well, just to find opportunities again. And hopefully, if both sides are using this approach, then the two will collide at some point, and they will get the match.
Yes, indeed.
That's fantastic. I mean, I think you've given us a really good taste of what the software can achieve. We haven't got any more questions unless anybody wants to chip something in the next couple of minutes. Oh, we've got a question about fee structure and schedule. There we go. Somebody's asked about the money. So must be very
Always important. Always important. Absolutely, absolutely. So First Ignite, it's really dependent on the size of a particular office, because we are provided on an enterprise basis, which basically means that everyone within a unit would have access to the First Ignite software. Now, traditionally, this cost is around 20,000 euros, but of course, it's dependent on your office itself. If there are internal activities going on, if there are specific initiatives that maybe would combine offices together, we can certainly think about shrinking down the total cost of our packages so that each team member is able to access the software. So just one thing to keep in mind, and we'll be at Knowledge Exchange UK, where we can talk through those one-to-one scenarios with your office, and then also schedule one-to-one discussions where we can go into a little bit more detail using examples from your teams live with First Ignite, so you can see the results, you can see those companies and contacts as well. But just as a general broad overview, First Ignite is provided at about $20,000 or 20,000 euros to a particular office at a time.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you. Right. Oh, trial version subscription. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of ways of trying things out on your website, I think, isn't there? That people can go and have a.
Yes, that's right. You can go to our website to see different activities internally and take a look at some of our case studies and examples. So First Ignite, in relation to a trialing opportunity, what we do is an interactive demo discussion where yourself, your colleagues can join a call, and we are going to walk through those examples together with you and then provide those results and companies' contacts back to you. So if you'd like to, you can reach out to those organizations, start those discussions as well. We don't have a specific trialing period where a team can use our software, but again, we do provide these opportunities where you're able to see and use technically First Ignite in real time before a purchase decision is made. Another important note as well is in relation to our costing, is that it isn't all billed annually. You can divide it up, so it can be done in 2 6-month increments. That's how most of our European partners do like to work with us. Of course, we can bill annually. Whatever works with your particular office, we can always walk through those particular scenarios.
Fantastic. I've just put the website, I'm sure, is not hard to find, but I've just popped the link in the chat there so people can go and start to have a look.
Absolutely.
I will bring things to a close there. Thank you very much, David, for giving us a little bit of insight into what your platform can do and what it can deliver. I think it sounds really exciting. So I hope people will take the opportunity to connect with you either at the conference or through the website. And I know you're going to be sharing a message with everybody so they can get your Calendly link if they want to connect directly and have a bit more of a conversation about their specific needs. But I think I think this is a future for definitely for finding those opportunities, and particularly for connecting with those more unknown opportunities, and just saving time and expanding the team without too much pain. So that sounds fantastic.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tamsin. And thank you everyone for taking the time to listen to me today. I greatly appreciate it. Just a reminder, we're going to be at booth 8 at the conference, booth 8 at the conference. And so we look forward to speaking with you in person as well.
Fantastic. Thanks, everybody.